What's up, Sag? Sorry, I have an itch I'm trying to reach. This is um your home light security reading for the month of May for all Sagittarius signs. If you've never watched any of these videos before or the way that I do it, right down there tells you if you're a sun sign, if you're a moon sign, if you're a rising sign, you know how to interpret these readings best for you. But this is for Sag for the month of May. And I know I'm doing it at weird hours, but that happens to be when I got told to come in here and do them. So that's the way it's going down. With that being said, all right, guys, you guys are, I mean, we do have Mercury retrograde right now. So that's kind of normal for what I'm about to say because you guys are in your head, but I feel like in a weird way in your head. I don't mean like normal Mercury retrograde way. What I'm saying is for one, the way it all lays in your chart, it's kind of like you're maybe evaluating things, um, changing things due to the evaluation. Because what it is you have a lot going on in your, interpersonal private lives, but it's shifting into the outer world. So it's in a form, it's a change that's taking place from your inner world, your innermost private stuff. Like they say, home is where you're the most private. It's also where you're the most real. Because I mean, you have the people out there who see you for exactly what you are when they live with you and are at home with you versus, your friends, your outworking community and whatnot. So this is like really touching base on what's really up close and personal in your life, but projecting into the outer world and the changes that are taking place. But like I said, you've got some Mercury retrograde stuff going on. So I feel like you're reflecting and you're making major changes along with that inner chatter. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative. Because Mercury retrograde is not always negative. Sometimes it's a reflection, plain and simple. But I'm getting that. I am getting some either family or personal judgment. I am getting very much three-dimensional energies, having to take care of the here and now, the three-dimensional world, which is also probably where you're manifesting from at this time. What else was I looking at? Well, they just said for some of you, you're definitely in your sacral chakra. You're definitely coming into different levels of self-esteem and understanding your emotions. Some of you are working through some disappointment as well as some frustration and anger with shifts that are taking place. Which one is this one? This family judgment again. You got some heart chakra going on versus needing to take action. So I feel like it's solar, and heart is mainly what's kind of working right now. Obviously that's going to reflect on the other chakras and the root, depending on how your mindset is with the changes or not that are going on at this time. But it's mainly sacral, solar, and heart chakra, paying attention to the three-dimensional world and how you can make that work for you as you're changing. Let me see what the cards have to say, and then we'll get into the astrology. This is my first deck out for you. Let me see. What does Sag need to hear for the month of May before we start getting into all of the astrology? What does Sag need to hear for the month of May? Can you make that vibration higher? Please. Sag for the month of May. Ooh, you have the Hierophant. This is the first thing coming out. So let's see what it's going to go with. Let's see what I think that was to go with the other card, but if it is meant to, it will come back out. What else does Sag need to hear before we start getting into astrology? What else does Sag need to hear? Anything else? Yeah. Okay. As I'm shuffling the cards, I showed you the Hierophant already came out. But as it came out and as I was shuffling, I also got in my head with the three-dimensional, I mean, not three-dimensional, with my spirit guides gave me the symbol, because y'all know I do the astrology. So they gave me the symbol of Saturn with the Hierophant, which makes sense because what's coming out next was the Prince of Cups and the Queen of Cups. So I feel like this is an incredibly emotional time. And for some of you, you're stepping into a new world that you're insecure about. Some of you are very much communicating. And either you're communicating with yourself too much, or you might be overly communicating without truly, allowing yourself to get to, like feeling your waters, like you're jumping the gun too much. Because for me, the Hierophant is, being in control of everything, but I'm being given Saturn. So saying, yes, you're in control. Yes, you're taking action. Yes, you're making all these changes. It is, but with, like I said, with Saturn coming with it, I feel like it's saying, watch your back. Make sure you're, what do they call it? Dotting all of your I's, crossing all of your T's. It is definitely making sure that you have everything connected properly, that you're not missing anything, that can turn around and backfire on you. But I feel like with the Prince of Cups and the Queen of Cups, I feel like you're a little too dreamy about it, a little too spaced out, and what I feel like you're too emotional about it, completely overly emotional, or you're on the exact opposite end, like a brand new love affair, and you're just too dreamy about it to where you're like, oh, in the goo-goos, it's all nice and new, and you're not necessarily thinking straight. So what I'm getting is, make sure you're slowing down. Slow down, really make sure that you're, dotting those T's, crossing those I's. And I don't feel like this is just Mercury retrograde. I feel like whatever's going on with you happens to be taking place during Mercury retrograde. And with the Hierophant, these cards, it's just very important for you to make sure that you are staying checked in with all situations so that you're not going, ooh, like brand new love, and then you're like, find out about all this, like another person, or find out that there's so much more to this whole situation than what you thought, or you're over emotional and you're trying too hard to put everything together, and you might in fact be putting stuff together that just isn't even real. So I feel like, it's kind of, I'm feeling it's very scorpionic energy, but not in the way of like the eclipse itself, because we have the eclipse coming in. But I feel like it's very, could you maybe be a little bit of a detective? Could you maybe make sure, pull a little bit of that Sherlock Holmes, and maybe really check your stuff? Because I feel like it's just, I don't feel like there's anything wrong, but I feel like it's just for whatever reason, like I'm supposed to be telling you, make sure you're covering your own ass. for whatever reason, because there's something you might miss and it may be important if you don't. So it's keeping up on that. Is there anybody else here? For whatever reason. Let's see. I have one more deck and then we'll get into the astrology. What else does Sag need to hear for the month of May? So, Spirit just said for some of you, you're having repressed anger or ego pride issues, and it's making you stubborn and inflexible. And that's because either you're afraid of disappointment or you've been disappointed. Yeah. Starry dreams is what comes up, and the message that goes with this is pay attention to the messages. Pay attention to the messages and trust in your higher self right now. So yeah, it's just for, I don't feel like it's anything bad, like you're in trouble, but it's just, you know, cover your ass. Don't get dreamy and let shit slip out of hand. It says for you, you need to check in with your higher self right here. Strengthen that connection with your higher self right now. Because there might be, maybe there's repressed energy with that higher self that you're, you know, not checking in. You're not truly giving yourself that meditation time. You're missing messages that you're supposed to have. This is consciousness and emotional truth, divine truth, realizations. It's also numbers of 12, 5, and 3 goes with this one, as well as, just in case that meant anything for any of you, don't try to make it go so fast. There is an ebb and flow to everything. You can't make everything happen just like that. If you're holding on to the heavy, it's going to be slowing down your creativity, which is also going to slow down that ebb and flow, which is going to make it not progress the way it is supposed to. It's remembering, though, that you need to allow the natural flow to take place. So I also feel like with this being said, that I need to remind you to pamper yourself too. Take some time, slow down, not just meditation, but literally some pampering, like give yourself a break, you know, the pat on the back, give yourself, you know, that meditation time or that bath time, just some Zen time is necessary right now through everything that's going on. I just feel like you've got so much going on. You don't want to miss a beat, but you need to slow down or you're going to miss a beat, which is you trying to keep up and trying to control everything when there are some things that just plain and simply, you have to let that higher energy, you have to let the manifestation, you have to let that knowing know. I mean, that higher knowing, let it do its thing, because if you're trying to over control it, you're probably going to try to steer it in the wrong direction and miss something that you're not supposed to be missing. So just slow down some is really all I'm getting for you. Now, yeah, because what they just said for some of you, or for many of you, is what I was just corrected on, that too many of you are trying to push to receive. You're trying to speed the pace up. You're trying to, I just get like fast forward. Okay. Now, for the month of May in general, you have now Mercury in retrograde in Gemini. However, grade back into Taurus on the 22nd. You have Jupiter, which is now moved into Aries. You also have the eclipse coming in Scorpio on the 16th. The sun's going to move into Gemini on the 20th. On the 24th is where I feel like energy is going to start to really actually pick up around this date, because this is where Mars enters Aries, where it returns to its ruling sign. And once it leaves Pisces, and it's kind of worked through that extra other funk, it's going to start, actually the energy is going to pick up. I feel like it's going to want to pick up, but it's not really going to be able to until closer to around when Mars enters Aries. Then on the 28th, you have Venus, which is entering Taurus. So both your yin and yang, your masculine and your feminine, Mars and Venus, are both about to return at the end of the month to their ruling signs. So I'm feeling like this is, even though we have all this eclipse going on and all of these other energies and the shifting, this is still a little bit of a standstill moment. Don't try to get there so fast, because I'm feeling like a lot of this movement isn't actually supposed to really start fully taking place until the end of the month. Now, if I understood what Spirit just said to me, a lot of this, I don't feel like it's actually throat chakra as much as what they're saying is there's some communication with the self that has to be worked out. And it won't fully get its worked out stuff until you're closer to the end of the month. So, just be patient with yourself is what I'm getting. Self-expression of some form, you're starting to learn more about yourself. Now, when I do the astrology, I always tell everybody that I start from wherever the sun is, because wherever the sun is in the universal chart is technically the house that you're walking through. And then I just continue to go all the way around till we get to the house that was before the sun. Now, for you, your 6th house is where the sun is, which is your daily task, your daily mundane tasks, your routines, your routines, work. It is your health and diet, your hygiene. It's your service, your jobs, your careers. So in a form, it is the outer world, but I always call the 6th house your daily mundane tasks. It's the people, places, and things that you are part of. And technically, these people, places, and things is an energy that you are consuming in your diet, whether it's positive or negative. And so whatever this energy is, these people, places, things, these daily routines, the mundane, the reason it's seen as mundane is because they're repetitive. You do it every day, you overlook it. However, it's some of the most important things in the highest levels of manifestation, because we overdo it. We do it without paying any attention. For you right now, this is where your sun is. And this is in Taurus, which is ruled by normally the 2nd house, which is also technically where self-worth, self-value, self-esteem come in. The law of attraction and manifestation itself comes from. So in your daily routines and activities, this is where you either are building the backbone that supports that manifestation of your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem, or you're not doing as good of a job and you're trying to get back on track. You have Uranus here, which is allowing you to try to make time for these things that are important to you within your mundane daily tasks. I have a friend who's a Sag, and while I'm doing this, I'm seeing her at this moment, which makes sense for what I feel like they're trying to have me explain. Because she's a Sag, but part of her daily activity is like her yoga, and her, she's recently getting ready to move to Hawaii, but it's like her yoga and her beach time and her reflection time, and making time for that within her actual job, career, activities, people, places, things. So when you're reflecting on that healthy inner you, it's going to help bring out your independence, your individuality, your creativeness, how you feel good about yourself. And then that's going to bring it into your manifestation. But that has a lot to do with the people, places, and things of energies that you consume. And if they are not supporting that, then ultimately they are harming that. Plain and simple. Now, like I said, the sun is here, but only until the 20th, when it moves into your 7th house, where your relationship zone is. I am right. I counted that right? Yeah. Now you have Mercury and Sirius here in Gemini. Sirius is as far at the other end of Gemini, almost out of it, but Mercury is in it. And here's the thing. Come around the 20th, you're going to have Mercury, which is going to retrograde back into Taurus, into your people, places, and things. And then you have the sun, which is going to move into the relationship zone. So they're going to pass each other. All right. Which is going to really make you pay attention to these daily activities. That might be part of why Spirit is saying, pay attention to the messages. Make sure that you have your eyes open and that you're seeing, everything that you need to see, because it could be part of those daily routines being something that's important as this Mercury and the sun shift, because the sun's going to be going into the relationship zone. And this is also communicating. You can't help it. When Mercury is in retrograde, we all are a little bit more self-centered, because the communication is only talking to us. All right. And it's talking to you about your daily activities, your diet, your hygiene, your health, your daily tasks, your jobs, your careers versus your relationships. And your relationships are everything that you care about. They are not just your friends or your wife or husband, but your children, your family. It's your money. You have a relationship with anything you care about. And when you don't have money, you know about the relationship. So this is saying something's going to happen here. You don't want to hiccup within the relationship of the mundane when they shift. Okay, so you want to make sure that you're paying attention, especially as we get closer to the end of the month. But I make sure you're keeping your eyes open all month. Okay, just to back up, making sure there's not a hiccup that's going to cause a big issue on you. You have Sirius, which is still in that 7th house. Not the Sirius star, Sirius, which is all about karma and the threefold. And, making sure her big thing is nurturing or neglecting. So a lot of your relationship in this mundane energy from that 6th house versus that 7th house, your relationships and your daily activities is going to have to do with reflecting on how you are nurturing or neglecting what is important. Plain and simple. As you move into your 8th house, this is where part of this problem might be also, with why Spirit is telling you to open your eyes, make sure you're paying attention, is because Saturn. See, Saturn just keeps wanting to come out of my mouth when I'm talking to you guys. So it's paying attention to some kind of rules, walls, boundaries of some form. But as you're coming into your 8th house, that's also rules, walls, and boundaries. But you have Lilith here. Cancer is your 8th house. It's the relationship zone and the rules, the walls, the boundaries, the joint efforts, joint resources, joint finances of these relationships. But see, you have Lilith here. Lilith isn't exactly powerful in Cancer. This is more about making sure that you're standing on your own and that you're not expecting somebody else to, back you up, bail you out, or anything along this line. Even though it's joint resources, efforts, and finances, this is saying make sure you have your own ass covered in this area as long as Lilith is here. Because the problem with Lilith being in Cancer is that you need to seek the independence and standing in these rules, walls, boundaries, keeping these eyes open, making sure that you're setting yourself. Perfect example. Yes, if you're in a relationship or you're married, you're the Smiths, but you're also this one person. You may be a couple, but you are an individual. Make sure that you're not losing that individuality, because in Cancer, you also have Lilith tends to become very submissive. And that's not saying that sometimes being submissive isn't a good thing. But with the messages I'm getting for you guys, submissive is not a good spot for you right now. Making sure that you're staying independent, you're identifying everything, at least acknowledging everything around so that you don't miss something. But I don't feel like you're supposed to be going overboard with it. I just feel like it's not being lazy about it, really, is what I'm feeling more. Now, as you come out of that, we're coming to your 12th house, is where the eclipse is taking place. The eclipse is taking place in Scorpio. And like I said, I feel very much Scorpio energy here. Now, the thing is, Scorpio is all about death, decay, and destruction. Kind of like it's one of its rulers is Pluto. And it's death, decay, and destruction for a new rebirth, a new manifestation, a new project, a new fertility. Death, it's birth, death, rebirth. It's the transformation. And the problem with this energy right now is the South Node is in Scorpio, and this is your 12th house. So this is really paying attention to what you want to put yourself in denial over, what you want to overlook, especially around the eclipse, because the eclipses are setting up. I don't know why, but I just heard conjunction for somebody, but it is setting up a situation for your next 6 months of energy. And in your 12th house is where your self-undoing is where your self-deception is, your grief, sorrow, shame, blame, insecurities, where pride comes in, avoidance comes in, the things that you don't really want to deal with creep up out of the closet and give you no choice. The South Node is everything that you're good at, but it's not good for you anymore. So this is saying in this devil card energy, is it self-sabotage, self-sacrifice, self-undoing, that you're letting something slip, that you're letting it smack you in the face, or are you going to make the change and look something right in the face? Because this is talking about a major transformation in some form that's taking place for you around this eclipse time. But I feel like it's still not fully going to come into its transformation until near the end of the month. Like I said, the 12th house is what we like to leave in denial, but this is the South Node here with this eclipse energy, and that's everything that you're good at, being able to manipulate your way around what you don't want to deal with. But I don't feel like you're going to be able to. Like, it's going to force you to have to see it, so it's best to just take it head on. Now, throughout the whole month, like I said, I don't feel like it's a bad month, but I do feel like it's an eye-opening month. Your second house still has Pluto here. This is your self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. This is your money house. This is your manifestation house. And you have Pluto here, with this still reminding you how to touch base with parts of you that you still haven't quite finished finding. There are still parts of you that you haven't ignited. You haven't fully found. And you only have another year and a half, supposedly, because I believe it's going to retrograde. I believe it's going to move into Aquarius and then retrograde back into Capricorn. But overall, it's 2 more years here. Pluto is at the end of these lessons of trying to teach you how to be grounded in the spirit of who and what you are, so that you can always stand in your power and in your spirit, in the sacredness of yourself. But there's certain pieces that it seems like you're trying to avoid. And more or less, that's what Pluto's trying to teach you until it gets into Aquarius. Now, as you move into Aquarius, this is your 3rd house, Saturn again. This has to do with communication. So it's reading, writing, letters, messages, something that you need to make sure you're paying attention to, you're not missing or avoiding. I'm just warning you. There's something that you don't want to overlook. It'll come back and haunt you. And that has to do not just regularly. It's just saying don't be moving so fast that you're like, oh crap, and you have to backtrack. But I'm feeling like, especially this month for you, eyes open. Now, when you get into your 4th house, this is Pisces. This is where that inner emotional security is. And you've been really contemplating a lot of this going on because you just had Jupiter here for the most part of the year. You had Venus traveling through it. You've had Mars now in it. You've had a lot of energy going on, and Mercury came through it. You've had a lot of energy going through your 4th house, your inner emotional security. It's your home. It's your inner child. It's the roots of who and what you are. But the only thing that's left here at this time, really, is Neptune, which is its ruler. And it'll still be here for several more years. But you also have Mars. Mars is not very powerful here. Mars is not powerful in a water sign. It's like being in a board meeting. So your inner passion, action, aggression is just kind of like, meh. Your passion, action, aggression within your own inner security, with securing yourself, is kind of like, meh. And that's not good. This is, and like I said, the energy will move in to the next house into Aries when Mars moves out on the 24th. That's when the shift's going to take place, more than around the eclipse. And then it'll be moving into your 5th house, into that creativity, where you're going to be like little sparks of fire, just ready to come up with all kind of things, and you're going to need to slow down then. So it's gone from kind of a little bit of a dud energy, kind of like, well, I'm waiting for this, I'm trying to take care of this, I'm a little bit too much in my head, and then all of a sudden, action, and trying to keep up. And I'm feeling like you're really going to have to work on balancing it. There's going to be a lot of ideas coming in, a lot of inner child coming out, a lot of play, a lot of creativity, a lot of stepping into your hobbies, your actions, your new ideas, your new dreams, your new goals, because Aries is also universally the 1st house, also identifying with the self versus what you've been learning while that Mars was going through Pisces. So I'm feeling like it's going to be kind of slow, a little bit emotional, a little bit too much in your head, and then all of a sudden, and then trying to keep up. But it may be emotional in a good way or in a bad way, depending on where you're taking the energy, because Neptune does not care in that inner emotional security of Pisces for you. Neptune, what I mean by for you is Neptune doesn't care if it's positive or negative. Neptune just creates what you give him to create. So make sure that you're manifesting from loving yourself, self-worth, self-value, paying attention to the security of you. And then it's going to help bring that security back to you. And like I said, really at the end of the month, pay close attention to what's going on around you. And yeah, then we're back into Taurus. So we've gone full circle. Spirit is saying pay attention to your hobbies. Or I guess maybe make sure you're making time for your hobbies. Trust in your spiritual intuition. Step into that communication and allow the transformation to take place, because all that some of this is, the only thing that's slowing some of you down really is just repressed insecurity of making the transformational change from over judgment. So just slow down a little bit. Make sure that you're paying close attention, but don't overanalyze it. Remember, it's Mercury retrograde. I love you guys. Bye.